1 in 3 American adults has a condition that's quietly damaging their blood vessels, and 8 out of 10 of them don't even know it. It's not a disease you catch. It's not something that shows up overnight. It builds slowly, silently, for years until one blood test changes everything. And the strange part? One of the most talked about tools for catching it early isn't a drug. It's not a $40 supplement. It's sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. Stick around, because what the research actually says might surprise you, and it's not what wellness influencers are telling you. Blood sugar isn't just a diabetes word. It's tied to your energy, your weight, your heart, even how well you sleep. Spike it and crash it enough times, year after year, and it quietly wears down blood vessels and strains your pancreas. Here's what makes it dangerous. You can feel completely fine while it's happening. No pain, no symptoms, just slow, invisible damage until it isn't invisible anymore. Most people think managing blood sugar means medication or a total diet overhaul. And to be clear, for people with diagnosed diabetes, medication is essential. Nothing here replaces that. But here's what most people don't realize. What you drink right before a meal can change how high your blood sugar climbs afterward. Scientists call this the postprandial glucose response, and a splash of something acidic, timed right, may blunt that climb. This story starts in 2007, when researchers published a study showing people with type 2 diabetes who took 2 tablespoons of vinegar at bedtime had noticeably lower blood sugar the next morning. That single study kicked off nearly 2 decades of follow-up research. But here's what surprised a lot of people. It took until 2025 for scientists to pull it all together. A team in Iran combined data from every controlled trial they could find and published the results in the journal Frontiers in Nutrition. Their finding, doses of at least 2 teaspoons a day were tied to meaningful drops in fasting blood sugar and HbA1c, the lab marker that tracks blood sugar control over several months. But here's the part almost nobody mentions when they post about this online. The researchers rated their own confidence as only moderate for one marker and low for the other. Translation: the pattern looks real, but the studies are still small, and scientists aren't calling this settled science yet. That kind of honesty is exactly why this is worth 15 more minutes of your attention. So what's actually happening in there? Researchers believe acetic acid slows how fast your stomach empties, spreading out sugar release instead of dumping it all at once. It also seems to partially block enzymes that turn starch into sugar, a small speed bump before that sugar reaches your blood. Picture your bloodstream as a river and sugar as rain after a storm. Vinegar doesn't stop the rain. It just may slow the flood enough that the riverbanks don't overflow. Most people don't know this part either. Apple cider vinegar specifically contains plant compounds, chlorogenic acid, catechins, from the fermentation process. That's likely why it outperforms plain white vinegar in several studies. Here's where people get it wrong, and this part actually matters, because doing it badly can hurt you. Mistake 1, drinking it undiluted. It's highly acidic. Straight, it can permanently erode tooth enamel and irritate or burn your esophagus. Once enamel is gone, it doesn't grow back. Mistake 2, assuming more is better. It isn't. The research showing benefit uses 1 to 2 tablespoons a day, not a shot glass every hour. Mistake 3, treating it as a replacement for medication. It is not insulin, it is not metformin. And mistake 4, the one that surprises people most, taking it while on certain medications without checking first. It can interact with insulin, diuretics, and some blood pressure drugs and may affect potassium levels. That conversation with a doctor isn't optional. Researchers actually studied it, 1 to 2 tablespoons, diluted in a full glass of water, before a carb-containing meal, or at bedtime, based on the original findings. A straw limits contact with teeth. Rinsing with plain water after instead of brushing right away protects enamel further. But here's what gets lost in the hype. In every major trial, vinegar was never tested alone. It was one piece of a bigger picture: diet quality, movement, sometimes weight management. The habits with the strongest evidence are still the boring ones: a short walk after eating, fiber-rich meals, real sleep, and managing stress, since stress hormones can raise blood sugar on their own. Vinegar is a small assist, it is not the whole team. Let's be honest about where the science runs out. Most strong studies lasted weeks to months, not years. Several were small, quality varied, some trials carried a real risk of bias. People with gastroparesis, acid reflux, ulcers, or swallowing issues should be especially cautious. It also isn't studied as safe for children, and pregnant or breastfeeding women should check with a doctor first. Here's what changes the story in 2026. Scientists have stopped asking, "Does it work?" and started running precise, head-to-head trials: apple cider vinegar against a placebo, against lemon juice, measuring exact glucose response after real meals. Some of these trials are recruiting participants right now. The science on this ordinary kitchen ingredient is still being written in real time. So is apple cider vinegar the #1 morning drink for blood sugar? Here's the honest answer: it's not a miracle, and it's not a myth. It's one of the most promising, well-studied natural tools we currently have, with real limits and real precautions attached. But if there's one thing this research really proves, it's this: the biggest changes in your health rarely come from one dramatic discovery. They come from small, boring, repeatable habits: a tablespoon diluted in water, a walk after dinner, a full night's sleep, done consistently for years, not days. So here's the question to sit with. What's the one small habit you've been putting off, not because it's hard, but because it seemed too small to matter? If this helped you understand the real science instead of the hype, hit like so more people see it, and subscribe. New evidence-based breakdowns drop every week. This video is for educational purposes only and should not replace advice from a qualified healthcare professional.